Alright Diablo players, let's talk about the disaster of trade in a dedicated video, because right now this is a major issue, especially with people that want to go ahead and min-max. It is basically impossible to min-max in this game in the current state without doing some sort of trade, and it is a disaster right now. Specifically looking at this post over here, every single one of these is a scammer asking for real money, and it's specifically if you want to get those quadruple greater affix items or even triple. A lot of people are actually using duped items, fake gold, and or trying to get real money, crypto, cash out. People don't want gold anymore because gold doesn't really have a good value inside of the game after a certain point, right? When you're looking at billions and billions of gold, there's nothing that you can like buy in the game for billions of gold, again, that's in the game. You have to go to third-party trade websites, but the trade websites, people don't even want gold anymore because, again, the people that have these incredible godly items, they don't want gold because it doesn't really hold value because of dupes and whatever the case may be. And then also there is another problem that people are having gold just disappear, or maybe even items disappear out of their inventory because it's a duped item. That is another major problem. But you guys can see this person over here, the low gold price. If you know, why are items being listed that are like quadruple, triple greater affix, or even a good aspect? People will list them for 25, 30. The low number, this isn't 5 gold, obviously. This is $5 real money, or it could be $20 real money. But at the end of the day, this is the major problem. So this guy's been trying for 4 days to try to get a legitimate seller on an item. I don't even bother looking for like quadruples because, again, the cost is so high, an average player is never going to get it. And that doesn't just tie in with like 4 greater affix items. Even if you want to try to get a perfect aspect, this is a major pain point of the game that has to do with trade. And I want to go ahead and kind of first off explain the problem, and then I want to offer some solutions and give Blizzard some feedback. So again, this is a very big issue. It's such a big issue that on the trade website that everyone uses, which is Diablo.trade, at the front page, it's like, be cautious of scams over here. Real money transaction is prohibited. You can't use RMT. People are asking for like Bitcoin and other currencies. It's pretty wild. I've seen some other posts over here, but you can see there's even people that are getting blacklisted over here. So they're like, be aware of people like with this name. Their main problem is that Battle.net accounts are free. People will then make another Battle.net account, and then they will tell you their actual account. So if their Battle.net account gets banned, it doesn't matter because they're using a fake account here. But if you go to any sort of trade website, it's specifically Diablo.trade that people are using. If you want to get that good aspect, it's not even like, oh, people will just want to get like the best in slot item for nothing. It's also getting that aspect. It is like almost impossible this season. Now, I played in the streamer test server, the early access for like the review server of this when we had access to Spiritborn. I believe it was like almost a month before it came out. I didn't even get the aspects. I was like, it's really hard to get it was iron chunks and then rawhide. Those were like really impossible to get, but also aspects just weren't going to be dropping because they made the ancestrals way more rare, and therefore, if your thing isn't ancestral, you're never going to get that aspect. This is a big problem. This all has to kind of do with the trade, and I think that it was supposed to intentionally try to make people play the game a lot longer, because people would dip out of Diablo perhaps too early, and I think people were looking at it like, we need to keep these players playing Diablo a little bit more. Let's make these things just like so rare that they're just not going to get it. And it comes to some point where like I dumped 100 hours into like the early server, and then I also have 100+ hours on the live server because I stream this game like all the time. Now in the very beginning I did play for like 30 hours a day, but then later I just felt like my time wasn't valued, so I started playing some other games. But this is a big pain point. Specifically getting those greater affixes to roll perfect, it just feels impossible. So like I just felt like my time was almost being wasted by playing Diablo. There's multiple streams I'd play for several hours. I got no upgrades. And like how does that make me feel as far as like someone that understands the game and it still is not getting what they want? It just feels like I'm wasting my time. So this really needs to be addressed. Hopefully we'll get an update very soon. There's actually going to be a campfire chat later this week. This aspect thing needs to be addressed because it ties into this whole system over here. And I want to go ahead and go over some of the things that some people were talking about, which is like I try to buy a 4-star unique, and then they're trying to make me pay $25. This is just off of, I uploaded a video talking about like this in a short, like it was in a YouTube short and TikTok where we were talking about this. And then you can see this person was like, I wanted to buy this rod at Kipalike, and he's like, I would pay 30 billion gold, but the seller says what, like in PayPal, because I'm guessing he maybe listed it for like 30 and then now he wants like $60 and he's laughing at it because like, yeah, it feels pretty bad. But this is another issue with trade is you can see this person saying, I got a friend who's playing on PS5 during the season, his gold vanished a couple times. So I don't know the full issue with this. I mean, maybe his friend bought the gold, maybe it was duped gold, but at the end of the day, this is an issue with the game server because Diablo has constantly had a lot of stability issues. They have been constantly updating the game, but also duping is a pretty big problem in general in any MMO, action RPG, and I don't really want to fault Blizzard for this 100%. And the reason why, guys, I'm going to explain another way that people were duping before. This has already been patched, but some of these tests for how people are duping items are absolutely crazy. Again, this one's been patched. So, like, some of these tests, like, I don't know how you would test for this, but one of the things was to split items and then unplug your Ethernet cord and resplit the item. So, like, that was a way where people were duping before with certain stacks of items with, like, crafting materials. But that's unrealistic for Blizzard to realistically like test that. So I don't really fault Blizzard for some of the duping methods. Some of them are more common than others, and some of them, like, they're pretty crazy for how people are duping. But it's still a very massive problem for like the game's economy to have people get items that, like, maybe you're 100% legit. You just sold your items for gold. You didn't use any of mom's credit card to buy the items on a website, and your gold just poofs. That feels really bad. And I think that the main problem is that you're not even engaging in actually killing monsters to get the best loot in the game. You're engaging in just playing a trade website, right? And that is one thing that Diablo actually wanted to move away from. I feel like Diablo 4 is actually repeating Diablo 3's mistakes all over again, and I'll get into that. And this is why, like, trading is a big issue. So you can see this person over here saying you can't afford items unless you sell as well. And that is realistic. You have to consistently sell items. If you guys want the best stuff, you can't just get it to drop in the game. If I want a triple GA glove or even a single or double, I'm not going to go there into the Helltide and continuously play. I'm just going to ask my chat, hey, anyone got one for sale? That is the way that you're acquiring items. And I don't think it should be like that. I think if you want to engage in trade, maybe they can have some sort of auction house in-game. This would sort of solve some things, so that way we don't have a third-party website. And I don't want them to remove trade. I think trade is good for the game, but you have to have a way in-game versus spamming the trade channel. That's just very, like, it's very caveman to do that in modern action RPGs. We need some sort of way to trade. And this goes back to the same point, and it has to do with, again, the reason why aspects are so hard to get is because they probably wanted to keep us playing for a long time. You can see everyone's aspects are specifically 16 out of 21. That's the number that everyone's hitting. Even myself that's played over 100 hours in the season, yeah, it's definitely a pretty big problem. But then you also have these other problems where you can see this person, they have enough gold, but they have so much gold that the game doesn't even want to register it. In fact, this was another problem in the previous seasons where you couldn't even trade the amount of gold that people wanted for items, so you'd have to do a double trade and just hope that the person actually paid you. Like, trading in general has been a huge issue with the game. But I also wanted to mention, this isn't just with Diablo. This goes with other games. Yes, there's lots of trade websites. And these trade websites, guys, I'm telling you, they make bank. I've gotten offered $2,000 for one sponsored video. So the fact that they're offering that for one, I didn't take it, by the way. That's a huge amount. But the fact that they're willing to pay that much for a Diablo content creator to make one video on like a gold website to hey, buy our gold, they got to be making bank. So I know that people are buying lots and lots of gold because they are offering so much. And on top of that, you can see over here, this happens with Path of Exile as well, okay? I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, Path of Exile is their trade system is way better. They have RMT as well. It's gonna happen if you have open trade. But the thing to really kind of curve this is to actually sort of have a realistic way for people to actually acquire items, which actually does kind of open up the doors for another problem, which I'll get into. But I think that it needs to be a little bit more accessible for people to get these greater affix items or the aspects. You can see this person saying that you don't need aspects, people are just impatient. This person is saying, yo, I'm para 290, I should have max aspects. And I absolutely agree. There comes to a point where you're like, dude, I'm missing so many aspects here and I'm almost maxed out. It's pretty bad. Then I also talked about XP being pretty bad, but that's a subject for another thing. The aspects do tie into why people are RMTing things, because you could play for 10 hours and get 0 upgrades on your aspects. And that's not how it was in the previous season. It's really hard to go backwards in a game for progression, but Diablo 4 seemed to kind of do it with Season 6. I liked Season 4 and 5's progression because I was able to play multiple classes because I didn't feel like my time was being wasted while playing. Now, if we go back to even like Diablo 2, because a lot of people always reference D2 itemization and systems were way better. To get some of these items, Diablo 2, I mean, look at this thing. You would probably never see this. You could play for almost like 1,000,000 hours, and you probably would never see an item like this ever. This is incredibly godly. Now, I feel like the Eternal Realm could be utilized for like items that are so godly that people never want to leave there. Because, again, the point of like a reset is to kind of have some sort of refresh. But realistically, I want to say I love Diablo 2. It's one of my favorite action RPGs of all time. Heck, I still play Diablo 2, usually with mods. But I specifically like Diablo 2, like, in general. But it is unrealistic for an average gamer to go ahead and max out in a character in D2 and then have to redo it again in the next season. Like, it's so much harder to max out in D2 than Diablo 4. Maybe that this is kind of their goal and they kind of wanted to use this as a test. I constantly feel like Diablo 4 is just a massive test to kind of see if something works, because right now I feel like the grind is simply just way too long, and maybe this season was mainly designed to try to test out, can we keep people in this game for longer if we make these aspects a lot harder to actually get. And it almost reminds me more and more of D3's situations. Like, Diablo 4 is definitely moving in a direction where it's more like Diablo 3 every single time that I look at this game. Now, some areas, like in this season, making things so long, like, again, when we have this Paragon that's like takes almost forever, to the point where like a lot of people just kind of got burnt out, right? And we have all the glyphs that we're leveling up just like gems for these numbers, right? It's not like, oh, I need to level up to get my Paragon from like 250 to 300 because I got this really cool build that I want to try. It's like, no, I just need these numbers to go up. There's no creative design. When you're looking at an action RPG, the most fun thing is building the characters, and I actually would say that they would get more time out of the players by not making it so hard to grind the Paragons, but letting us actually max out, getting those aspects, and then the player would think, well, I had fun with this class. It was super OP. I did like 100, I got all my glyphs. Let me try this new class. This class got a new skill. I want to try the Soul Rift Necromancer. I want to try the Throw Barbarian versus, oh, wait, my Paragon's at 250 for my Spiritborn. I kind of did everything. I don't really want to level up 5 glyphs. I'm going to sign out for the season. I'm going to hop into a new game. Because that's kind of the situation that I feel like a lot of players are in, which I will also touch upon. But as far as an auction house, I want to go over this as well, because a lot of people think, okay, well, trade is really bad. Why don't we have an in-game trade, not a third-party website? That's better for sure, but Blizzard originally removed this, and I found the article that actually mentioned. I was looking for the original Blizzard blue post, but this is from Kotaku over here, and like I said, the auction house was removed. Like, they had 2 auction houses. There was like a real money one and a regular one, and you can engage in both, but that got removed. Now, there's an article over here by Kotaku, and it is talking about specifically that I'm just gonna read what I highlighted, and it says here's Blizzard. Again, I wish I could find I don't know if there even is a blue post up on this still, but I'm not sure who it was. I don't know if it was Wyatt Chang at the time, but ultimately it undermines Diablo's core gameplay to kill monsters to get cool loot. We're repeating the same problem. How do we get the best loot in the game? Is it to kill monsters and get loot? No, it is to go to Diablo.trade and hope that the person is actually selling it. Not only we have to hope that the person is actually, live at the same time, because, there's no auction house. It's kind of like, oh, it's a live trade system, which is super archaic, and we need an in-game trade system. But if you're not killing monsters getting loot, you have to go trade. And then the worst part about it is then you go back to the exact point is they're all scammers. Which is just, it's super, super bad that it's set up this way, but this is why trading is a disaster in the game, and I think this really needs to be brought up forth, and hopefully Blizzard can, utilize this as some sort of feedback. But this is another problem, okay? So if we have the mindset of, okay, so if killing the monsters is the best way to get loot, okay, people aren't getting it fast enough, because technically, yeah, you can keep on killing monsters and you might get it, maybe 1,000,000 hours of gameplay per season, right? The problem is that we also have these as seasons, like everything resets, right, every once in a while. So the average player is going to feel like I'm putting in so much time, I'm not getting my stuff, and then it's going to reset. Like, that's crazy. So if you make it too easy, though, this is kind of another problem that happens if you make these aspects and the gear too easy. Now, I definitely think it should be easier than the current state, but how easy? Well, if you make it too easy, this is going to be a problem. And I'll kind of mention this. So this person's saying, why is this awesome game is boring already after a week. And this happened specifically with Diablo 3. I could definitely tell you, and all the Diablo partners and content creators that upload D3 content, they can tell you this as well. Diablo 3, new season comes out. It's hot for 1 to 2 weeks, and all the build guides are out, and then after that, your videos get no views. I mean, what I mean by no views is like, yeah, they still get views, but it's like, it's, I don't know, like 1/10. Like, they go significantly down after the first 2 weeks of the launch. And this definitely happens with Diablo 4. It's again, it's kind of repeating the same thing. That's why I'm saying it's kind of the same. You can see another content creator, Riker, posted about this, why Diablo 4 Season 6 is losing players fast. It's the same thing, where like it comes out, it's hot, but that Halloween event needed to hit hard. We're getting a new campfire chat, so I'm pretty hopeful that we can get some really big changes, because we need some big events. We can't just have Halloween, oh, you get a treasure bag, it drops 2 random legendaries, have fun. That is a laughable event. It's not inspiring to go ahead and try to play a new class or do something for the event. It's kind of just like, this is the event? Like, that's how a lot of people felt. They were just like, I could care less for the event. It didn't really do anything. But also, it comes down to, okay, well, how much fun is it to go ahead and one-shot a boss again and again? This was one of the biggest upvoted posts on Reddit, which kind of ties in to acquiring gear, and it's taking so long that people would rather just go buy the runes and then they'll just go craft the actual mythic, versus again sitting there farming the same boss 1,000 times. Look at this, dude, I killed Duriel quadrillion million times and got 3 mythics. Man, I killed Indara this many times, I only got 2. It's not really that fun to go ahead and do those boss mechanics again and again, and it almost ties into how repetitive the game is, specifically with the pit being like the ultimate way that we farm the game again and again and again. It's been there for too many seasons, and we had a brand new expansion. We should have some new forms of content to actually kind of farm. And the Citadel could have maybe been a good place for this, but I'm not sure if I would like to farm the Citadel 10 hours a day, but more variety would be a little bit better than specifically just doing the pit. That's at least my 2 cents on it. But I always want to try to give them solutions to, you know, these problems that currently exist in the game. And I think if they really want to have players kind of continuously play the game, because I think, at least from my viewpoint, by the way, they have not told me this. It's not some secret information that is only for Diablo partners. How I feel that this season was designed is more so to test to see how long that they can keep the players inside of the game. Because a lot of times, again, like I mentioned before, this happened with D3 and specifically with D4 as well. It's like the first 2 weeks, hot, and then it drops off, right? And that's normal for a lot of action RPGs. But I was trying to think of what would actually make people continuously play the game. And I'll also tie this into like what they can do with gold, because I want to provide some solutions. To make people continuously play a game, we need a lot of variance. The thing that can offer the most variance is some sort of PvP arena. The PvP arenas was something that was originally designed in Diablo 3. I have played it. It was only available at BlizzCon, and then it never came out. And Diablo 3 eventually got PvP, but it was not the original arenas. The PvP arenas can make people come back again and again, wanting to play some new classes. Seeing combos with two different classes would be awesome. PvP would keep people interested in your season a lot longer, but also providing some solutions to gold having some sort of value, because again, there is some point where the player doesn't feel like there is a point of actually getting gold in the game, and that's why they want real money, because like, well, I already have my stuff maxed out. I don't want gold anymore. You need gold to have some sort of value, so it doesn't make these prices get so high to the point where like you legitimately cannot afford it via an average player viewpoint, right? Like, you need to have realistic ways for people to actually get some of these perfect items. Well, relatively perfect. I mean, like, at least with the aspects especially, they can have those drop easier. Sure, that's one solution. But another solution that I was thinking about is like vendors actually carrying good items. Like, the vendors in this game literally could be deleted and no one would care, because they actually serve zero purpose in the game. The vendors don't ever have anything good. What's the point of like a yellow item in the game? It's absolutely worthless. Also, maybe we can have some sort of thing where we can upgrade an item to have an additional greater affix, or apply a greater affix on an item that doesn't have one. Or maybe we can randomize the other rolls on the items to be GA or something, or if it's a GA, we can roll to another GA, somewhere where gold can actually have some sort of value for the end game. Because again, once you get to a certain point, gold doesn't have any value in the game, and that's why on the RMT sites, it's billions and billions of gold to do anything. Or maybe you can just make it so this would be a real easier way to actually get rid of, this would curve all the people selling the aspects, is you can use your gold to buy a aspect from the vendor. Maybe the vendor can refresh, or you can specifically get the one that you want. I think there needs to be a better path to try to get some of these aspects. Maybe you need to get it to actually drop from the monster to get the perfect one, but at least it can give you up to like the 90th percentile, because right now it's all 16 out of 21, which is the meme that people are mentioning on the Reddit thread. But anyways, kind of a long rant video, but I really feel like that Diablo's trading is a disaster, and specifically that I think they want us to play the game a little bit longer, and that was kind of their test out on how to do it. But let me know, guys, how you feel about it. If you guys have any other solutions or other ideas, let me know down below, as there's going to be probably some sort of Diablo partner meeting relatively soon, because it's been a while. And maybe you can bring up some of the ideas that you guys come up with from the comments. But that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell if you'd like to see more content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.